Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host, Mike. I've pressed record on a different platform because I pressed record 4 times on the previous platform and it didn't work. But Dan came up with a brilliant idea. So thank you, Dan. We have Dan and Andrew on the show. We are going to be covering the loss to Crawley as quickly as possible, I guess, and look forward to the visit of Salford Town. These are things that people don't normally say, but we are desperately looking forward to Salford. Engagement is important. Please remember to like, share, add your comments, get involved in discussion. Tell me what you do like, don't like, all the rest of it. All the likes and shares really, really help and get us in front of other people's eyes. And thank you to everyone who does that. We are going to jump in quickly. And Dan, 3 weeks ago, you were on after a bad defeat and some green shoots of recovery seem to be growing, and then they were stamped all over. But how have you been otherwise?
Yeah, not bad. I'm away from football. I'm got a new sort of position at work, and I'm having to deal with new challenges and new things there. So that's been really good. And then I've been wasting my weekends with Sutton.
And by extension, this. And Andrew, it was early April for you. So
that long ago.
Yeah, so we've had a whole end of season, a whole summer, a whole beginning of this season being awful. How have you been?
Yeah, overall, aside from the football, pretty good. And then getting excited for Saturdays, and it's been a really tough start to the season, and obviously the last couple of months of the last campaign as well. Yeah,
I mean, you mentioned aside from the football, that was one of Dan's Gandemonium's little things. It's been a lovely weekend, apart from the football. It's spoiled by the footballs. A bit like golf.
Great day out, spoiled by the 90 minutes in the middle.
That's perfect. But some good news. The ladies' side won in their FA Cup match today 4-2. They came back from, I think, 1-0 and 2-1 down to win 4-2. And yeah, there was a bit of issue yesterday with the coach travel. Alison was fuming and taking a lot of the blame herself, which she shouldn't have been doing because it wasn't Alison doing it. But unfortunately, there seemed to be some miscommunication with the coach company, and the driver rocked up at 1:30 instead of 12:30 when everyone was already well on their way. And personally, thank you to the Hitchcocks who I was just going to drop out, and they're like, "We'll give you a lift there," and they clearly saw the panic on my face, and they went, "And home again, don't worry." I couldn't have sat with the anxiety of not knowing how I was going to get home. It's like, it's okay, we'll look after you. So thank you. So yes, thank you, Michael and sorry, I don't know where I was going to go with that. But yes, on the sports club, obviously 50-50s are very, very important. We've seen them raise from about 80 quid a match to it was 200 quid recently. So let's see what we can get against Salford and further away against Walsall, so I can keep claiming credit for that, because I love claiming credit for shit that's nothing to do with me. So we're going to talk about the match quickly and then the season afterwards. So we'll especially talk about the match lineup. What were we sort of thinking ahead of time? I didn't even get a chance to do it with all the panic going on beforehand, but I'm not sure I would have got that lineup if I'm being honest. But Dan, we'll start with you. What were your kind of thoughts at the lineup stage? I know Smith was missing, which a lot of people were unexpecting.
Yeah, that was the big sort of miss, I think, that no one was sort of expecting. I mean, Lewis also not being involved as well was another one. It was nice to see Dion Pereira involved, because I didn't get to go to Vale on Tuesday, but from all accounts he played pretty well up there, and so it was nice to see him get a start so we could have a better look at him. But yeah, I mean, overall, I mean, it's been largely the same lineup through. We've not got massive injury problems, so yeah, I mean, it was fairly okay with the lineup as such, bar Smith being missing.
And Andrew, what were your thoughts ahead of kickoff? Looking at the lineup?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been listening so much to the previews and the post matches, so I don't know quite who's injured and stroke unavailable. I still can't work out why Jackson's not playing at right back. I'm struggling for away games at the moment, but when I went to Wickham, he was probably our best player, and I just can't work out why he's not playing, getting that right back berth. Smith, yeah, I mean, has it been announced if he's injured or not? And Louis John, I don't know if he's rested or. I know we've got a lot of games coming up, but I don't know if he's injured as well. But
yeah, I mean, I think they said those guys had a knock.
Okay.
So again, Matt described Louis' knock at the tail end of last season as he'll be out for a week or two, and he was out for months. So
yeah.
You never know with these things. But kind of, we went 1-0 down quite early. I obviously it's at the far end and I am blind, but I was like, oh God, another crap goal. But actually looking back on the highlights, it's actually quite a good goal they scored. But what were your, here we go again, Dan, or what were your thoughts at 1-0 down? Do you think it was, we've had the ball at the moment, or what?
I didn't think here we go again. I mean, it was obviously really annoying to concede early again, because we keep saying this, keep it tight for 10-15. Let's get into the game. Let's play ourselves into the game, and so we've got something to build on. But if you keep going and giving sides a head start for 5 minutes, okay, there's still plenty of time to get back in the game. But again, you're having to force the issue, and it's so frustrating. I mean, yeah, it was a nice goal, but I mean, it was 2 passes again, a little give and go, and then the guy's been allowed to run 10 yards on into masses of space. And he's laid it into a guy arriving late from midfield.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it was. I mean, from their perspective, you're a Crawley fan. You think that's a great goal. I thought defensively for us, it was dreadful.
Yeah,
too much time, too much space. No one getting a challenge in. No one tight. Yeah, it was just annoying. I didn't think here we go. I was like, well, still plenty of time to get into this.
Yeah, I mean, my prediction at that point of 3-1 win was still on. Andrew, how were you feeling at that goal?
You know what? I walked in just as they were celebrating, so I didn't even see it. So, and I haven't dared watch the highlights back. So
you got the best. Please. You got the best part of the deal. You didn't miss much.
Yeah. You know what? I thought we were the better team at first half. After about 10 minutes, I thought we. But again, it's not scoring when you're on top, and we had half chances, and we just needed one of them to fall in, and who knows what would have happened.
This is what I've been saying for seems like forever. We huff and puff and we make these half chances, and then we gift a goal, and it's like, why are we gifting something when we have to work so hard to get it?
Yeah.
But we did have. People are saying it was Lee's header for the corner, but it wasn't. It was Omar's header that was kind of maybe going to trickle in if the keeper had a holiday or something. And O'Brien sort of took it on. He was well offside. But some people said maybe if he'd left it, but it was like, no, the goalkeeper could have literally gone for a cup of tea and come back and saved that because it was just trickling in. Then I think O'Brien again had another one which it was unclear what it was ruled out for. It may have been offside, it may have been handball, it may have been both. Who knows? But it was probably rightly ruled out. but who knows the reason why. But also, and I hate going on about refs, but we had possibly 2, maybe 3 penalty shouts. Dan, you were sort of similar to where I was standing. What were your thoughts?
The one on Omar,
Yeah,
I've watched that back on the highlights. How the fuck is that not a penalty? I'm
yeah,
sorry. I mean, Pereira's little turn and dink, but he's just basically just hung it up in the middle. Omar's 6'6". It was perfectly on his forehead. So he could have just jogged in, done that, and it's a header on target. The guy had his arms around his waist. It's a penalty. The ref stood looking straight at it. How? Is it this the same bollocks they used to use for Dundas? Oh, he's too big to go down. Piss off. Give the decisions. It was a penalty. The others were shouts. That to me was, I mean, it looked nailed on from behind the goal. But even seeing that, when I've watched the highlights back earlier on, it just annoyed me even more. It was so obvious.
Yeah, no, the others, yeah, you're right. It was a few of like, that should be a penalty, but they're the ones that are never given. But Andrew, what were your thoughts on?
Yeah, there's going to be a bit of repetition here. The Swamney one was I thought nailed on. Should have been given. I'm not sure about the others. I probably need another look at them, but definitely the Omar one. But yeah, the ref. I mean, there were a lot of comments after the game about how poor the ref and the linesman over. Our side. He didn't have a good one.
Yeah.
And the other decision that irked me was, we'll probably come on to this anyway, was the free kick, or supposed free kick on Izzy when he got fouled, and then it leads to their second goal. I mean,
I'll just
seen it
on the pens. Crawley fan I spoke to did kind of go, ref was awful, because yes, there was one at their end that they were like, that's a fairly decent shout for a penalty as well. So it's always good. Well, it's quite good when the side that win slag off the referee as well, because then you're like, no, okay, we were right. We were right that the referee was shit. But yeah, you mentioned the free kick. I've not actually watched it back yet on that part, because the highlights that got out of first were okay.
Just don't.
I mean, was there anything that looks like
it's I would actually like to sit down with that official and ask him, show him that video and say, how in your mind is that a foul to Crawley?
Yeah.
Kizzy took the touch, knocked the ball past the guy as he arrived, and the guy literally blocked Kizzy off. And then it's not like there was a red shirt immediately behind, because the ball ran to, I think it was Josh Crawley.
Yeah.
There wasn't another red shirt anywhere near. Our lad's had the touch. He's knocked the ball past the player, and he's just been blocked off. It's a free kick to us. How he thought that was their free kick?
Yeah. On first viewing, on just watching it through, I definitely thought it was our free kick. Then I kind of wondered, did he think, where you said he's had a touch, did the ref think that he didn't control it? And then they came together, and then I'm like, well, surely if that's the case, you could just go, well, that's a 50-50.
Again, the ball, if you do decide to watch it back, the ball has gone past the guy and he literally just blocked Kizzy off.
Yeah.
It looked crap from behind the goal. And now when I actually had to, when I saw it on the video, because I thought I better watch the highlights back. I don't want to, but I'm going to watch them back because we're going to discuss the game. You know, put the effort in, Dan. I had to pause the video and just go and I'm going to have a cup of tea or something. I don't want to, because I was that angry when I saw it.
Yeah,
it was a crap call at the time, but watching it on the highlights,
is even worse. Yeah. Andrew, again, I think you're probably going to repeat a lot, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm so stunned, and I just feel for Rose, because the ball then comes in, and he makes an unbelievable save, and then it gets knocked back in, and they score. But yeah, it should just never have been given as a free kick in the first place, and then obviously our heads drop when the second goal goes in. It's just these moments are just not going for us.
They're absolutely not going for us. And Matt made the point of, okay, once it was given, we should have defended that better.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
But that's going to be in your mind, no matter what you are. You're like, how's that a free kick? That's not a free kick. And oh shit, it's coming in. But as you said, then it dropped to one of their players. Yet again, a save deflection drops to one of their players, not ours. These things can't continue. I know luck isn't uppermost, but these can't continue. All these deflections getting punished for. And then there was a shout that the third one, like we were given offside so many times, was the third one offside. I don't know if you watched that one.
I read that later on in the evening. I mean, I couldn't work that one out.
I'll be honest, having said I watched the highlights, by that point I'd lost interest in the highlights. So I didn't actually look at the third one that closely. I can only assume someone in the middle might have been playing him on, because all the guy did was take a touch and just play a straight ball threaded through the channel. And the guy burned Sam Hart.
Yeah,
he was well clear of him. He was nowhere near him. So, I mean, they could have had another 4 or 5 after that if they were
absolutely, yeah.
I mean, if it was off, then that just sums up the day, really. But I think by that point, once it went to 2-0, we were done.
We
weren't in the game. I mean, well, Amari had that one chance that the keeper made a really good stop from, but apart from that, we got nothing.
No, but again, we could have. There's all the ifs and maybes and all the rest of it. Omar had got that header. We have scored? And Brian had not been offside on that rebound, would he have been able to tap it in, or would he still try to catch it? I mean, there was one, for me, a real good highlight for the first half, and it was, I think you might have mentioned it, Andrew Pereira, where he shaped across the ball, and the defender kind of dived in to block the cross, and he just literally just trickled it in front of him and ran around him. I was like, oh, I like that. That's something different we've not seen before. So there were good moments for him, but it's just not enough. I mean, Matt said we weren't ruthless in front of the goal, and I'm like, how many chances did we actually have to be ruthless? There's only a handful.
I think Amari had the best 2. The one where the keeper saved his legs, and to be honest, how he's not got his volley on target, that has to at least hit the target from the corner. It was a free hit from about 8 yards, and he kind of shanked it wide.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, it's difficult to kind of know where things are. I did the link out for the player ratings. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a couple I want to kind of pick out on. Eastie got a 7, which is our highest. Kind of tells you the rest.
Doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. In Gessen, though, I thought people might be a bit harsh. I thought Gessen had quite a good game. He got a 6.
Right.
I wouldn't have given anyone a 7, more than a 6, really, yesterday.
Yeah.
Really?
Pereira got a 5.75.
I think that's a bit harsh.
Yeah. Lee Angle, what do you reckon Lee got?
-2.
He'll be certainly around the 2 or 3 mark, I would have thought.
2.75. I mean, obviously there's something we don't know. Obviously there's something we don't know. I think his missus has had a baby, so he might be having some late nights and whatnot. But still, how he's getting the game time over Hish or Tope, what's happened with him? I mean, if he was running at some of those defenders who don't, I mean, Tope doesn't know what he's going to do next himself, let alone the defender know what he's going to do next. But what do you guys feel about Lee? What does he sort of bring to the side, not bring to the side? Would you be happy for him to be dropped?
I mean, I think I'm going to go sort of play devil's advocate here a bit on this. I like Angle as a player, and I think sometimes the way that we play doesn't suit him. When he first joined up and his debut up at Hartlepool, I think we saw that's what Liango needs. He can play that man up top, but you've got to get it into his feet and allow him to then hold up and bring other players in. Because we tend to play more with a player like Harry Smith, who can do both, where he's big, he's strong, he can win the flick-ons and the headers as well as you can play up to him. I don't think he likes that physical role, if you like, the more direct stuff where we're trying to hit him and and we're expecting him to win flick-ons. I just don't think he either likes it or it suits his game, or it's not something that he's particularly proficient at. But the problem is that if that's the way the game's going, unfortunately, it then means that you are completely anonymous, because you're not giving us anything, because the ball's just coming up and straight back. So the question is, okay, if you replace him, and it's not Harry Smith, and you keep playing that way, I don't think it's going to make a difference. It could be hit, it could be Tope. If you're putting balls in for them for flick-ons, it's not going to work.
No,
that's my concern.
We've had this conversation many times last season, because Andrew, you probably wouldn't have seen it, but Donovan scored on his debut actually for Grimsby, and it was his ball into his feet. As we were like all last season, we're going, why are we pumping him up to Donovan into his feet? So is it a bit of the players on the pitch, even though yes there are instructions, but are the players on the pitch not going to go, this isn't working, can't we just visit into him at his feet? Do they need a bit of responsibility for knowing how each other plays? Do the players need to speak up and go, this isn't going to work for me?
Yeah, possibly. I mean, we've seen that sometimes this season when we play it on the floor. Yeah, the Notts County game, for example. And apparently on Tuesday night at Port Vale, I heard we were playing it on the deck quite a bit as well. Going back to Angel, he wasn't quite fit when we signed him last season. He had a proper pre-season. But he definitely looks like a player who's he's quite useful with the ball at his feet, like turning, dribbling. I do think he needs a run of games, like the chopping and changing all the time. I don't think that's overly helpful, but like it all goes back to obviously the tactics and the amount of balls that were just lumped up to him yesterday. He wins a flick on, and it was just running through to the keeper all the time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And I lost count the amount of comments we've seen about hoofball this season. It does make you wonder who's coming up with that directive. Is it Matt, or is it the players just hitting it long? I don't know who. I couldn't answer that question.
Well, the reason I sort of mentioned Eastie as well is I do think that some players, people are quick to jump on, like Lee, like Joe, when they make a couple of mistakes, and they're quick to jump on them and fuck's sake, Kizzy, and blah blah blah. And then Eastie had a couple of passes go awry, give the ball away, and it's like, come on, Eastie, head up, and it's like, hang on, he's done the same thing, but you're getting a pass and you're getting a 7, whereas someone else is getting a 2.75. Well, I know it's what they've done for us in the past, but is that fair? Should we not be getting on everyone's back, or should we not be supporting them more?
Yeah, I mean, you can sort, it's human nature, I guess, and it's the way football fans are. Everyone has their players that they like or prefer to others, even in a squad. So yeah, it's. I think just because Eastie is such a big player for us, and he is so important to how we play, that's why he would get the pass in those sort of a more positive encouragement when there's a mistake rather than fuck's sake. It's I don't look too much into it. I think that's just how people are, and football fans in general, really.
I think people take a little bit of time to warm to someone. And he's had plenty of time, and obviously hit the ground running when he joined us 9 years ago now, I think it is.
Yeah.
But Andrew, is it the defence, or is it everywhere? Are we not pressing up front?
I go with the whole collective.
Yeah, we're definitely not, and I think I said this to you already, Dan, we're definitely not the big, nasty, horrible oh shit, it's Sutton come to town, the bullies are here. We're not doing that anymore. So is it because we've only got one or two people pressing and the rest are just sitting back, or what do you think it is?
Funnily enough, I was put something on Facebook before I came on because someone was saying about what do you think it is? Obviously, the defence is a problem because we're conceding just for fun at times. I mean, yeah, Saturday was the 5th time this season we've conceded 3 or more in 10 games. You can't do that. I mean, you're not going to win football matches. End of story. But one thing as well is it can't just be the defence because it's basically personnel we've had there for 2-3 years. Bar Omar, who I think's been, bar a mistake against Cambridge, he's been by and large very good. I think he's done his job. He's done what we've asked of him. So I don't think it's there's a player there that's a problem in particular. I think one of the issues is I think the base problem might be midfield, in the midfield are not protecting the back four as well as we have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is, like last year, or going back to before that, you had 2 wingers, generally Randall and Adjaboy, or someone else instead of Randall. But they tended to work hard to protect their fullbacks as well as being an attacking option. And obviously you had Eastie and whoever else in the middle, be it Ali Smith as well. They were both superb at nicking the ball, both good at protecting and also could get us going in attack. I don't see that too much this year. I don't think Crawley protects his fullback very well at all. I don't think Amari's that kind of winger. I think he's someone you need bombing on. But that, again, takes something away from the way we play, which is 4-4-2, 2 banks of 4, especially away from home, come break us down. Well, people are doing that for fun. I mean, as I mentioned it on the Swindon thing, I'm noticing it more and more where people will now just play through the middle of us with little trouble at all. And I just think that then leads itself to the midfield's easier to get round or past or through. It puts more pressure on the back four, more mistakes, and you're just going to concede more goals. And if we're meant to be a solid 4-4-2 and 2 banks of 4, we ain't got that. And I'm not a coach. I'm just, going off 40 years of watching this crap. But I get the impression that I think that may be what it is. So I don't know. Maybe we need to just. I know Matt's, that's the way he wants to play, but we might need to just have a think. Do we string 5 across the middle, go 4-5-1 or 3-5-2 or whatever it is, and let's just stop the goals going in, stop them.
Yeah.
And then if you're not conceding 3 every week, you've got a chance.
George Graham, Andrew. If they score nil, we can't lose.
I'd go to 4-5-1 for a bit. We did that against MK Dons last week for the last 20 minutes, and convinced it was just to shore it up and just make sure we didn't lose that game and stop the rot. And I think he did that on Tuesday night as well, playing higher opposition. Why not give it another go yesterday? Why go back to this 4-4-2? And
I think he does try it in games, and O'Brien tends to drop back. So you've got like probably Easter yesterday, O'Brien dropping back and Gesson kind of doing the 2. But it's a tiny tweak on the formation. It's like a 4-1-4-1, I think.
So last week was visible, that 4-5-1 against MK Dons. It was a notable change. I could see it. I mean, I'd have Clay. I'd probably have Clay literally just screening the 2 centre backs, and then have a couple more in front, Eastie and Gesson, and then your wingers, and then someone up front.
I mean, that's going to need. If Smith's up front, that's going to need the 2 wingers to be coming a lot tighter, or Smith to do a lot more running than he currently looks willing to do.
you can't press as we like to do or used to do prior to this season with one man up top. It does mean that you either have to have your central midfielder getting up to support, or your wingers have got to be involved. I think something like a 4-5-1 might just by loading the midfield a little bit more and just making it just harder to break down. Is just going to. I mean, even if it just we start that way and we play, I don't know, 20, 25 minutes like that, stay solid, and let's then build into the game from there. I mean, even if it stops like being 1-0 down after 5 minutes, you certainly away from home as well.
I mean, it's difficult because, I mean, I said last week or on the AO one, against Villa, under 21s, it was clear that they were trying to play the ball, keep hold of the ball more and play with possession. And literally, I think there was 4, maybe 5 passes before people around started screaming, "Get it forward!" It's like, well, hang on, you're all wondering you don't want the hoofball, but then as soon as they try and keep possession, you don't want them to keep possession, you want them to get forward. So I think you mentioned earlier, Jan, football fans just...
people and football fans.
Yeah, it's strange.
You can't win.
There was talk about we need financial investment and potentially recruitment to blame, but I think we kind of we invested in the summer, and I don't think anyone could really say at the time when we kicked off that the recruitment was banned. Andrew, I'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on like people saying we needed more investment for the club's future and the recruitment not being so great at the summer?
I mean, I'd imagine the club are open to more investment. We've obviously got the ground improvements lingering in the future, haven't we? I'm not really up to speed with deadlines, etc., and when that needs to be completed. I think the recruitment was actually an improvement on last summer.
Massively.
Just in terms of the players that we brought in. It's just taking time to gel and cohesive unit and the best options available. Recruitment, I don't think that I'm not going to expand anymore now. I think the recruitment's solid.
I mean, there was talk in the summer, Dan. Some people saying we need another centre back, and I was one of the ones going, well, hang on, if you're a centre back, you've got Lewis and Ben, Omar in the background, and then Joe able to cover. Where do you feel like I'm going to fit in at Sutton United? Obviously, it's moved on a little bit, and probably now you could argue that we could have a nice experienced centre back to come in and calm everyone down. But what were you feeling over the summer with the recruitment?
I mean, the recruitment was, as Andrew said, it was way better than last summer. I mean, last summer was very quickly, it became obvious that a lot of the guys we'd signed just weren't up to snuff. And we showed that in January because we binned most of them off. But this year, you looked at all the players that we brought in, they all had decent pedigree. People like Smith have been around at this level. Clay's been around at this level a fair bit. Crawley has been a pro. Amari Patrick, let's be honest, he should be playing in League One. We know that. I mean, even if he just stuck it out at Carlisle, he would be, and he'd be getting regular minutes. So the recruitment itself at the time was fine with. Yeah, I mean, and Matt would probably say this himself. You can always add one more somewhere, whether that's at centre back or as a winger, another out and out wide player or something. Or a playmaker in the middle of the park. But bottom line is the recruitment's done. This is the squad until January. And even if we get to January and we're still in the shit, you're not going to be able to make sweeping changes. This isn't non-league. You sign players to contracts and you're with them. Those players are with you until either the end of the contract or you sell them or you pay them off. So, yeah, I mean, we're in this till January. This is the way it is. These are the players we've got. So it's on the pitch is where it needs to change. You can talk other investment. That's fine. The club always needs more investment. That isn't now going to get us results before January. End of story.
I mean, the one worry, and you mentioned it earlier with Lee Angle coming into us, sort of doing quite well at the start. We got a full pre-season into him. Matt did say after sort of quite a lot that these players, none of them had a pre-season. We need to get them in to know what we're doing. Yet they were complete strangers apparently when they demolished Notts County 5-1, and now we've had 2 months of getting what we want into them. They don't know what they're doing. So maybe no training, just rock up on a Saturday and play.
Yeah, go for it.
Right, so this next kind of batch is possibly going to go all over the place. So, but there's been lots of conversation. At this stage, 10 games, 4 points. Do we think, Andrew, we have still got time to turn things around and avoid a relegation?
100%.
Okay, good. Short answer, Dan?
Yeah. I mean, I think with League Two, it's a 46-game season. You've got time. We saw with Gillingham last year. I mean, I don't think we'll do a Gillingham, but if you can turn it around, be that by making changes in January, I think you can be shit for about 12 to 15 games, and then start hitting your straps. Then you can maybe turn it around. It's when you start going beyond that kind of point, that sort of a third of a season, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was Mark Bravery who put something on the forum earlier, and he said,
just about to mention it.
Yeah, go ahead, mention it.
So obviously Hartlepool and Rochdale, the two that went down, both changed their managers without any upturn in form. And then Harrogate, who were right down there at the start of the season last year, stuck with Simon Weaver and managed to pull themselves up the table. So we hopefully should take inspiration from that. And I mean, if we're still at this situation come Christmas, obviously, then wow. They're going to have to think about something, aren't they?
Well, this is the next part of the conversation, which I'm clearly very comfortable doing and bringing up. Lots of conversation about Matt out. Just some of them will not give any opinion once they've said it. They'll just kind of go quiet and just have their Matt out, and it's difficult to kind of engage with that. Now, to me, obviously, I think slightly differently. I think Matt would get a pass, even if, and I know no one will like it, but even if relegation, because his job was to keep us in the National League. And so he's got one relegation as far as I'm concerned. But do you guys think that he's the right man for the job, or a change needed? Obviously, you've both said sort of a little bit further down the line, sort of November, December time. We'll talk about some of the names mentioned in a moment. But do you think potentially he's the right man for the job? Dan, we'll start with you.
He's definitely still got credit in the bank. I mean, he had a similar-ish run when he first started. Club kept faith with him, and I think we reaped the rewards of that, because he then wanted to give back, repay that immense amount of faith that was shown in him, which is brilliant. That's the kind of guy he is. I want him to turn it around. I really, really hope pray he does turn it around, because he's a top guy and he works so hard. But as I made the point elsewhere as well, this isn't cuddly little non-league anymore. This is the Football League. It's a cold, hard, brutal world. And I also want to state about the stuff people saying, "Oh, he'll still be here even if we go down." I think that would be a terrible idea, because let's face it, if we go down this year, the TV money goes up by 50% from next season. So a relegation instantly costs your club £500,000 in the region. So if you've allowed a manager to stay for a 46-game season, you've gone down, you've lost that amount of money, that's just gone. As a relatively new fan, I mean, us old sad bastards will keep plugging away. But as a relatively new fan for the last 3 or 4 years, if a club retains a manager after a terrible season like that, Are you going to buy a season ticket again? Let's be honest, you're probably not. You're not. And then your crowds go, people go, well, they don't care. They've no ambition. And people walk away. And you, before you know it, you're playing back playing in front of us 600-800 people. And you're doomed. So I love the guy a bit, but for people to say, oh, I think he's got the season, I don't think he has. And I did make the point on a previous podcast, there are people now involved at the top level who are putting money in or investing money. Okay, it's not millions, but they have a say. And if they think that what they've invested, again, by just simply losing that 500,000 by going down, if they think that that's going to be wasted, they may turn around and force the club's hand. And that's football. Football is a results business. We've won 1 in 21 games. We have 6 points from 63. And as much as you love Matt, that is not a good fucking place to be in.
No.
Eventually, someone's going to go, let's change.
Yeah.
And that could be next week. It could be November. You know, they might give him until 15 games. You don't know. And that's the unknown. I think a lot of people are still going with this old non-league thing of, oh, we don't sack managers. Well, unfortunately, we're in a world where that happens.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, I'm obviously I've stated it already, but I'm kind of of the opinion that if Matt stays, we might get relegated. But I think if Matt goes, there's potential other backroom staff will leave. Will the players want to play for the new manager, etc., etc., etc.? Will we have the money to do this? So I think potentially if Matt goes, we will get relegated. But obviously, I don't know. No one can see the future. But what are your thoughts on a change being needed or wanted?
I just don't know who else who'd bring in. I'm out of. I mean, yeah, I don't know replacement wise who's out there. I'd probably have to look at that. Like you said, the Sky TV deal renews next year, doesn't it? You just can't afford to go down with the amount of more money on the table, and I don't think we'd ever come back up either. So, I mean, you've had just 3 years in the Football League. I couldn't see us probably coming back up if we did go down. Yeah, I take Dan's points on board. I think they're pretty valid. How much harsher it is in the Football League, etc., etc.
Yeah. I mean, it is insane that he's one of the top longest-serving managers in the Football League. We mentioned Simon Weaver. The only reason he's in the job is obviously his dad's the boss. But it is crazy. But some of the names that have been banded around.
This should be good.
So, a couple of my favourites. Mark White of Dorking.
Oh.
So Mark White, who owns Dorking.
Not even qualified, is he?
He's not qualified, absolutely.
Yeah, he doesn't have a coaching badge. So
apparently he's going to take the EFL to court if he gets promoted.
Good luck with that.
Then there was, again, no idea if they're causing mischief or they were being serious, but a combination of Jamie Collins and Paul Doswell taking over.
Couple of names I'm not familiar with. I mean, are they lower league or?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's just names that we've had around. I mean, Jimmy was mentioned, but then I'm like, well, if Jimmy was to take it and not work out, would he still have a role at the academy? Would he want to risk that? I don't know.
I mean, that was a point someone did make after Accrington when we were waiting for the train at Preston. Someone was saying, well, okay, say you removed Matt, who'd you get in? And that's the question everyone seems to be asking. And I was kind of like, well, you've got a UEFA A-class coach in the building. So you would instantly have to turn to Jimmy as at least the caretaker. And then I guess see how it goes from there. Whether Jimmy would fancy that or not is another matter. Would Jimmy, want to do that alongside the academy? Again, another matter. It's all unknowns. But I mean, you've at least got a caretaker already in the building. Not saying I want that to happen, but
No.
It's just
Yeah.
he's a qualified coach. He could do the job.
Yeah. I mean, he did turn down a job before as well. So who knows? Who knows? But then it kind of leads us on to this very question coming up every week. I mean, it's getting more and more. I know, Andrew, you kind of fight the fire every week. I see you do it, but it's happening.
Tough job. Really
every
is.
single week. It's Matt out, taxi for Gray. You've had your chance. Blah
Don't
blah.
like seeing it. Don't like seeing it. But
No, and
yeah.
it's again. Dan, I know you kind of said, well, we're EFL now. This kind of thing happens, but he's still like, well, no, hang on a minute. This isn't a stranger. This isn't someone we don't know. You've had a pint with a bloke. You've had a chat with a bloke. So how much of that would change as well if we got a new manager in? But what are our thoughts on kind of fan engagement? Is it a concern? And specifically yesterday, obviously I don't do many away games, but specifically yesterday, the booing, the anti-Sutton songs, and my personal favourite, Dan, I think you'd left by this stage, some singing of "We Want Our Club Back."
Yeah, who sung that?
Well,
I mean, it's
if we're heading for relegation, you're getting your club back first.
Someone, because basically it got to injury time and I was kind of like, oh, screw this, I'm going to pop back to the pub. I've seen enough. That's I'm not, if I think it's that bad, I'm not going to stand around and clap and go, oh, jolly well. I just will go. That's my thing. So I went back to the pub. I went and got my pint. I was sat there chatting to a couple of other lads who'd left at 3-0. And when the rest of the gang came in, someone was saying, oh, it's hilarious. And they mentioned that, Sean. And I was like, well, you are, because we're bottom. We're going back to non-league. That's what the club was. It's what it's been for 120 odd years. So you're getting it.
Yeah.
Surely you should be applauding.
But what the people who got us to the Football League to play in the highest position we've ever played in are all still at the club in most. It's not like anyone's left.
I think that's just, again, when this will be the third time, so I think people and just football fans, I think there's the way that football is these days, everything's hyper, and always a world-ending problem or something like that. So I think it's just, people who don't quite understand the structure and how things are. I mean, it's different at your other club, Man United, Andrew, where they can afford to go, okay, this manager's not working out, let's pay him up and we'll get someone else in. But what are your thoughts on the sort of fan engagement? Is it very much TikTok, YouTube world? They're just copying others?
Yeah, I don't like it all, I must say. Yesterday was pretty. I can't say hostile. It wasn't quite hostile, but I heard some. There's a guy near me who was booing, and he then proceeded to shout, "You're not fit to wear the shirt." And a few of us were looking at him, thinking, "Oh, where's all this coming from?" I didn't say anything to him because obviously he's paid his £15. Like you're free to say whatever you want, but he did get a few looks. And then there were a few others who were just voicing their discontent. I guess that's what happens when you've lost a load of games in a row. I mean, people are,
yeah. I mean, don't get us wrong. No one's going to sit here be happy clappers, as Dan says, for however many points after 63 out of 63. No one's going to go, yeah, everything's marvellous. It's clear. I think there was another post I saw. Does Matt look at the table and realise there's a problem? Well, I would imagine Matt does realise there's a problem. It's just how to solve it. And
that's a daft comment because he's stated about 5 times since the start of the season that he doesn't look at the table until after 10 games. So ask the question tomorrow because he'll have had a look by now.
But it's also whether Tony should be asking harder questions. And it's like, well, Matt doesn't actually have to do these interviews afterwards. And if Tony starts asking really hard questions, Matt will be like, actually, I'd rather not, thanks. And I don't mean that horribly. It's just like, what's he going to say? Matt, where's the problem? Where's it gone wrong? I know exactly where the problem is. I just haven't bothered sorting it out yet. No, it's going to be, I don't know what's gone wrong. If anyone's got any ideas of what's gone wrong, let me know. I'm all ears at the moment. But yeah, I mean, it is a tricky one. And the thing I think of is we're supporters, and it's very easy to support when we get 2 promotions in 10 years. It's a lot harder to support when things aren't going quite well. And we don't have a culture of things not going that well, apart from, as Dan said, the sad old bastards have been around for such a long time. I think our worst season in recent memory was kind of like 17th in the National League, and we still didn't even really seem like we were going down in that season. It just wasn't as good as what it was before. But high point from yesterday, very, very important to mention. And if anyone at the club's listening, the food was good. Everyone was raving about the food, which is a really strange experience for me at a football match, because I'm like, excuse me, are you sure?
Yeah, pies were good, and I have it on good authority that the sausage rolls were also most agreeable. So,
and a big kudos for this clever idea of a big cup of chips, nice and easy to hold. It was like, that's a genius idea. That. And did you try any food or?
Nah, I looked at the queue and thought, "Fuck that." Pretty much.
I think
It just put me off. I was like, I'm not going to wait in that. So.
Nick was like, they handed you the bag, and it's like the food was already in the bag, and you're always like, oh, here we go. What have I got in here? And took it out, and he goes, this massive sausage roll. I was like, whoa, where'd that come from? So yeah, it's very odd that everyone was talking about the food. Right, we're going to whiz through because I've kept you both a very long time. The next match we've got Tuesday, Salford. They're not doing so well either. They're obviously doing better than us, but they're not doing so great either. But what would you like to see, Dan? What do you want from the game? I mean, obviously a big 5-0 win, but
I'll just take a shit scuffy 1-0 right now, to be brutally honest. Who's scoring loads of goals? Let's just get a clean sheet and 3 points. Yeah, they're in trouble. I'm actually very surprised that they've not pulled the trigger on their manager yet. I'm very surprised Neville hasn't fired their guy with the start they're having. But you know, if we can perform like we did against Milton Keynes, get that was a bit more like the old us. We looked solid, we looked organised. Their goal came a little bit from nothing. It was a bit of a speculative shot, and I think it caught Dean a bit by surprise. So if we can get that kind of performance, and hopefully Harry Smith, then if we can just get a result, I think it is that we're at that point where it's like trying to overthink. Everyone's, this is again with the thing with football. People just try and overthink this stuff. If we do this or this little change or that, it's just stick with it. Fuck it, get 3 points. Just keep banging at it. I mean, as you say, Matt himself might be sitting there going, I've done everything I can think of. I'm certain I'm doing the right thing. I'm confident in that. It's down to the guys to execute. Do it. Execute. See a game out. Get a win.
Andrew, what do you think you want to see?
I think we're going to get some points this week. Tuesday or Saturday or both. I think they're 2 big games. I think you kind of got to start putting some results. Yeah, you got to turn it. And I think Salford have got quite a few big injuries. Apparently, they got a win yesterday against Newport, but I think we'll beat them, and then they'll sack their manager after that. We'll get our 1-0 win.
We have got form.
The Sutton curse. I mean, Dan makes a point. I mean, is there? I think someone said it to me yesterday. I'm sorry, I can't remember who said, but is there potentially an analysis paralysis of we've got all this data, we don't know what to do, and it could be just literally, as I was joking around, of just go and play, just get out there and pass the ball to someone wearing the same colour shirt as you, and have fun, guys. But yeah, I know we do a lot with the data, but then so do other teams as well. So maybe we do need that top agent running around up front, not quite knowing what's going to happen. I'm not disparaging him. It's just obviously he plays with his heart. He's like literally his first instinct is I'm going to go for goal. Right, I can't go for goal now. I'll pass it to someone else. But his first instinct is always shoot and see what happens. Do we have any predictions? I mean, we don't have an away fan on. This is quite good because the score for the podcast predictions is the away fans are well ahead of the guests, who are also well ahead of me.
I wonder why.
So, yay! So it's a chance to close the gap. Andrew, give us a prediction.
I'll go 2-0 Sutton.
2-0 Sutton.
It's
Lovely.
bold. It's very bold.
Very bold. And that's the thing on the prediction league. It does crack me up because everyone goes, "Oh, it's terrible, it's terrible." And when I go through all the things, like only 2 or 3 people say Sutton to lose. Everyone's always Sutton win or draw. And I was like, "This is great." But Dan, go on. What do you reckon?
Okay, let's try and be positive again. 2-1 win. I don't think we're quite ready to keep a clean sheet yet, but I think we've got enough in us to win a game. It's whether we can get out of our own way enough and to score more than they do. So yeah, I'll go with a 2-1. We need something. I think it's a case if we can get a win, then you won't believe. I think it'll be one of those ones. We get a win, and we'll probably go and win 3 or 4 on the bounce suddenly.
Yeah, I mean,
everyone will be going, "Where the fuck's this come from?" But I think it's at that stage. It's either make or break. If we can get a win, everything will change. If we don't, if it's another 3-0, 3-1 defeat, then God knows where we go.
Yeah, I mean, if we lose these next 2, I think questions will have to be asked.
Yeah, I think that's where. I think if we get 3 or 4 points from these next couple, then that changes the landscape a little bit. You can see progress rather than it's a good performance. The result will come. It's like the result. We've finally got a couple of results. So I think that will change the landscape. But yeah, if we get beat in both,
might be it.
That's problems.
Stop it. Right, I'm going to go with an exciting game. I'm going to go with 3-2 because, like you say, Dan, I don't think we're going to be able to keep
3-2 to who?
To us, obviously, always us.
I was about to say, what are we going to start playing at 3-0 again?
Yeah, no, 3-2. It might be 2-0, but we're going to win. We're going to be fine, absolutely fine. I think Harry will come on and be a real pest and just annoy everyone. Which I think again, we need something different from the bench, and this is why I'm gutted that Cash gets injured because I wanted to see him and Smith together. And then Angle and O'Brien together. And I think those 2 different partnerships can work. But we need everyone else playing to the particular strengths and realising who's on the pitch. It's like when I'm on the pitch, don't ever pass the ball to me. That's my strengths. Just don't pass to me. I'll block the keeper. That's the only thing I can do. But we will wrap it up. We will be back on Wednesday, and I can't remember who with, but we're back on Wednesday, and we will review the Salford game and look forward to the Walsall game. And we are going to just finish off with saying keep the faith, everyone. It is going to come. I'm absolutely convinced. And thank you for your attention and your feedback. Like, follow, share, all the rest on the social medias. Thank you to Lucky Star Gin for sponsoring. Thank you to Dan. And Dan, you didn't swear. I'm pretty sure you didn't swear. Well done.
I did a few times.
Oh, did you? Oh, okay. I didn't notice it. I didn't notice it. Andrew, thank you for stepping in.
No worries.
Andrew got the call at about 5:30, I think it was. Thank you both, and I hope everyone has enjoyed this episode of Sutton Podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, chaps.
Cheers.
United! 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 United!